Hi, I'm Aaron Gall. Welcome to I Need Color.
As the horns rise up, we begin a new day. One full of passion and positivity. It's in our choices of how we paint life. And as for me, I need color.
Welcome back to another episode of I Need Color. It's been a fantastic week. This last week I went to DC with my wife for spring break and had a very relaxing time. Got to see the cherry blossoms starting to bloom this last Saturday, and it was very much just a relaxing atmosphere. And I needed that. I needed some time away from thinking. I do a lot of thought process with my job to make sure that I'm detailing everything in the moves that we learn in our classes for martial arts. And I just needed a week away to kind of shut things off and get ready to go again. Today's episode is going to be about leadership. And the reason why I wanted to choose this in the color scheme that I've got going on the side of my face is I want to start detailing every episode as a color that matches what I'm talking about. And for some reason, I've got to where purple really stood out to me as being a close relative of leadership. And my wife did an amazing thing when I told her about this idea, and she's kind of threw it into Google and was like, purple used to be the favorite color of royalty, and it meant leading, and so it just kind of fits. But the reason I want to talk about leadership is because there's sometimes a misperception that being a leader means being the most educated one in the room, or the one that is the most appropriate for the position, and it's not necessarily that true. And I've got a list here because I've got ADHD, so I'm going to have little bullet points that I kind of touch on today for the episode. And again, I'm real. I'm going to tell you that I've got notes, and I make sure that I stay on track. And I don't always do that well, so notes are going to help that. But one of the main things that I want to lead this with, see what I did there, is talk about how leadership involves a different word that starts with the letter L also, which is listening. Because if you cannot listen to the people that you are supposed to be leading, you're going to fall short of what you can bring to the table to really help embrace and enrich people's lives. I come from this with experience. I've dealt with people in the past that have been horrible leaders that I had to learn and unlearn traits from. I've dealt with people that have been amazing leaders. I've got friends that are extraordinary in leading rooms. And it's one of the things that I'm constantly trying to work at and get even better at. And I feel like I'm a good leader because I listen. I have got students and friends and colleagues that when they tell me something that either I didn't think of or need to work on, I take that into account. I realize and I put it into perspective that's coming from somebody else's point of view, and I see how I can grow from it to be a better leader. And a lot of people don't do that. Some people just cannot take constructive criticism. And then that causes their ego to fire up to where they start to lash out and have the mentality of, oh, well, I can't do any wrong. I'm the one in charge. Just because you're in charge of something doesn't mean that you're leading it well. A good leader listens. You listen to the people that are employed under you, the people that are your colleagues, your friends, your family. the positive influences that help you become a better leader and help you grow into more leadership opportunities. But if you can't listen, you're going to be stuck in the damn dirt. You're going to be crawling, trying to crawl out and come out to some kind of point of view that is never going to work. So really, like, you have to listen. And it's taken me a long time to really put things into perspective, but I've been able to listen pretty well over my life. I haven't always taken the constructive criticism and ran with it, but everybody has some of those shortcomings that we have to work through. And the biggest thing that I try to produce with being a leader is making sure that people that are underneath of me or walking beside me feel protected and respected. Because if they don't have those two things that work for them, say it's an employee. If you're dealing with an employee that you're trying to lead to be the best of you that you can present for your company or for themselves, if you don't have them feeling respected or have them feeling like you are protecting them if something happens along their path, along their journey, they're not going to come to bat for you when it's time. They're not going to be present in the moments that count to make that opportunity really stand out. So they have to feel protected and respected. And that goes for not just employees or friends or students, but in your own life as being a leader in the household. Because the role is going to go in one direction or the other. You're going to share the responsibility of leading in your household. And you have to try to talk with your spouse and listen to their point of view so that when it's your time to lead in a situation, you can do so valiantly and actually really come to bat for your spouse or your kids or whatever is going on that affects your family and your household. So the leadership opportunities that are everywhere, like, you have to be willing to look at them and take everything in, listen to the feedback that's given to you depending on where it's coming from. Because again, don't listen to somebody that's trying to just tear you down. That's not constructive criticism. That's someone being an asshole. But if you have someone that loves and cares about you or that respects you and they want to help better you with new information, take it in, listen, and really project positivity moving forward and evolve with it. Because then you're going to become so much greater of a leader that you won't even imagine, like, where it can take you. I've had to do a lot of evolving over the last couple of years just in my job, but especially in my own relationship with my wife. I had to unlearn toxic traits that I had had from childhood and even on into other relationships that I had prior. And in order for me to help lead in our relationship when it was time for me to lead, I had to take some introspective work and listen to what my spouse had to say and what my own mind and heart had to tell me of, hey, this is no longer serving you a purpose, and you're starting to bring others down with these things that no longer serve purpose. So listening is a huge key factor in being a great leader. Next thing is protecting those that you lead and making sure that that is evident in what you do. And that is not just sticking your dukes up and going to bat. It's much grander than that. It's standing up for the people that you love and respect, no matter what they're dealing with, whether it's someone that's being verbally abused or being called names or someone that's talking behind someone's back. Like, you have to be willing to stand firm and protect the people you care about. If you see that somebody that you are supposed to be protecting has been hurt or disrespected, you need to take the right steps in correcting that. And something that I mean by that is, like, for an example, I've had in previous times when I've been working with students, like, if they've felt like they were in uncomfortable situations, I make sure that I do the necessary steps to listen to what they have to deal with. And then I take the necessary work to make sure that I correct the issue and try to prevent more than that from happening in the future. Because if I don't take that lesson and really practice on evolving to a different level of what I can do as my leadership, I'm never going to be able to prevent more things from occurring if I don't take that and evolve with it. So protecting is another big pillar of being a good leader. One of the biggest things that I see a lot of throughout different spaces where people are supposed to be leading is not being able to address that they have shortcomings. Because unfortunately, whether you want to admit it or not, we all have something that we either lack or lessons that we are afraid to learn from or that we take a hard time trying to learn from. And unless you're willing to admit that you have those moments of shortcomings and learn from it and progress forward, it's going to stunt you. You're going to be stopped dead in your tracks, and you're not going to be able to move forward into the potential of what you can be for leading and inspiring the people that are wanting to walk with you and behind you. Now, with that also said, that shortcoming, okay, it also leads us into the next part, which is you are the one that sets the pace for your pack. I have a huge discussion that I usually do at least like once a year, sometimes in classes, sometimes out, but the pack mentality. So wolves, everyone wants to talk about it. Oh, I'm not a wolf. I'm not a sheep. I'm a wolf, or I'm a sheepdog. But they fail because a lot of them are talking about like a lone wolf aspect, and the lone wolf is actually, that's the one that's banished and doesn't have anything that'll have to do with like leading the pack. It's a very lonesome road that you are alone forever once you are banished from their pack. In order to lead a pack, you set the pace. You're the one that is in the back of the pack, not just in the front, but in the back of the pack, making sure the rest of the pack is keeping pace to the next goal, next opportunity, so that anybody that falls behind, you can help get up and help them march forward. Leading is not just from the front. You have to be willing to take the gloves off, get in and get dirty sometimes, and really work through the mud with your people. If you're not willing to do that, you cannot lead a pack. Period. And all of the people out there that are these, beat the chest, I've got everything under control and nothing can topple me. You're human. Quit acting like an alpha asshole and realize that you are a human being. You are allowed to make missteps, but you have to work through it and learn from it. That is what makes the best leader. Admitting that you have something that you need to work through and then working through it. One of the things that I talked about last season on the podcast, I was dealing with severe mental health issues. And for me, that was a big deal because growing up, I did not have the ability from my small town to talk about those issues because there's this big stigma when I was growing up anyway. It's a little bit more normal now, but you don't talk about your mental health. And I'm so thankful that I am in a different space now than I was when I was a kid, because it allows me to work through my demons and become a better person. Or I see places in my job or in my marriage or my friendships that I'm like, you know what? I really need to do better about being the best that I can be for myself and the others that are around me that I may be leading in this opportunity or in this life part of journey. So if you do not have those moments where you take the introspective work, you're failing yourself. And you'll never reach your potential. One of the things that I did here recently, and I plan on having a buddy of mine on the podcast in the future episodes, is I had a big discussion with an old friend of mine that I hadn't talked to for a couple of years. And I realized that I have had friends in my past that I maybe didn't do the best that I could as a friend, that completely cut me off, because in that point in time I was being a toxic friend. And I had to work hard and have that second chance to really prove my worth and prove that I was, it's the word I'm looking for, that I was worth giving a second chance to be the best friend that they could be, that they deserve, and that I didn't needed to be for them. And because they gave me that second chance, now that person is one of my best friends. And so when I really came to think about that, and I had this other friend reach out, I was like, you know what? It sounds like this friend has done their introspective work and learned from some of their mistakes. And I think it's time that I give them a second chance and really try to work things out. Because you have to be willing to open up and try to let some people in. And that doesn't mean everybody. I mean the ones that really work hard to correct what they've done wrong. From a friend standpoint, like, I'm not saying that you should take back your ex or anything like that. That's a whole different mismatch of things that we're not going to get into today. But I'm glad I did, because this friend that I've been talking to, and we're going to probably talk about it a little bit more on a future episode, is that because I have given him the second chance, I honestly, like, in my heart, it was the right thing to do, because he is a good friend. And even though there had to be lessons to learn from it, because I gave him the opportunity to learn from learn the lesson from it, I also am learning a lesson of making sure that I keep my heart open and not be bitter. Hi. So, real quick, to interrupt, this is Jasmine, and she likes to interrupt the podcast. You want to say hi? Huh? She stinks. She's the thick girl. We had some surgery on her because she'd never been spayed when she was a kitten, because she's got one eye. And ever since we got her spayed a little bit ago, she's really thicked out, and she's a big old fur ball. But she's a daddy's girl, so that's okay. So again, to kind of end this episode, because that's where I was going before I got very beautifully interrupted by my little girl. Leadership. You lead by example. You lead by listening. You got to protect your pack. Admit your shortcomings, learn from them, evolve from them. And then from that, you can better choose the pace that you want to lead the pack with. But if you don't do those things, you're going to fall short every time. And I don't have all the answers. I don't have all of the perks and everything else that I can give. There's probably things that I'm misstepping on and not adding in. But you know what? This is an evolving podcast, and I'm an evolving person. And we have to be. So be willing to evolve. Be willing to take that feedback and really let it set you apart from the rest. Because when you can show the people that respect and love you that you're willing to listen to them and to evolve from that, you'll never have to want for love and respect again, because you'll get it by the truckload. I feel very loved in my life, I don't know what I have done to deserve all of the love and respect that I have gotten these last 4 or 5 years, but I'm in a good place. And I hope you are too. Remember, next week is another episode of the podcast. We're going to talk about practice makes possible, which is a huge thing that I talk about in all of my martial arts classes. And I'm just glad to be back. I'm glad to have you as a listener or watcher on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, and please understand, when life gives you lemons, make some lemonade. Learn from it, evolve, and make your life fucking colorful. See you next week.